Tune in, drop me a comment to let me know you're here. Everybody else is now live too, so hello. We're going to be talking about motivation today. We're going to be getting into it in about a minute. As you tune in, let me know that you're here. Let me know that you're listening. And if you're an athlete, if you've got anything coming up right now, let me know what kind of competitions you've got coming up, what it is you're training for, and in turn, what you might be struggling with right now that we can touch on in future episodes. Thank you guys all who are tuning in already. We're going to be getting going in about 30 seconds. Going to get going pretty quickly. And today we're talking about if you are lacking motivation in your athletic career right now, what it is you can do to start to regain it. All right. Before we get into it, though, if you have tuned into the show before, you know the deal. You know why we're here. The goal of this podcast is to help athletes reach higher levels in their sport, help athletes reach bigger and better things within their sport, give you guys the little tips and tricks you need in order to be successful as you continue on through your career. So today we're going to be talking about what to do if you are currently lacking motivation in your athletic career. So let's start the show here in 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Elite Development Podcast, the number one show for athletes looking to gain an edge on their opponents and build their dream careers in sport. I'm your host, Kenny Dusseault, and today we are going to be talking about what to do if you are currently lacking motivation in your athletic career. Now, the reason that I wanted to bring this topic to you all today, first of all, a couple of mentors of mine spoke to something similar earlier today. And it really got me thinking a lot about this topic. But number two is because I have a lot of conversations with athletes online. I speak to a lot of people that tell me they have these huge goals. I have posts on my Instagram account and TikTok account that are filled with comments of people saying, I'm going to be the next UFC champion. I'm going to make history. I'm going to be the best to ever do it. And they have all of these comments talking about all of these incredible things that they want to accomplish. But there's a lot lacking when it comes to actually backing up those goals and actually backing up, those desires with work ethic, with the back end that actually needs to go into achieving those goals. So let's talk about it. Imagine this right now. You are a young athlete. You have been training for your sport for a number of years now. You're always trying to figure out, what else you can do, what more you can add to your plate, what things you need to do in order to be more successful and achieve the goals you have set out for your career. So you've got this crazy hard training system set up, this crazy hard training regimen set up where, you're training twice a day, you're training 3 to 4 hours a day, every single day. You're not taking rest days because rest days are for the weak. And then eventually it just starts getting harder to get up. It starts getting harder to start your day early in the morning. It starts getting harder to train later into the evening. It starts getting harder to do all of those things that you've set out to do in order to accomplish those goals. Now, in that position, if you are sitting in that position right now where you're trying to, set up this training system, you're trying to set yourself up in this position where, nobody can work harder than you can, nobody's going to do the things you're willing to do, and you find yourself starting to lose motivation, the first thing I need to ask you is, what is it that you're training for? Now, let me repeat that question. What is it that you're training for? Now, why is that my first question? Because you've said it already, right? You're going to be a UFC champion. You're going to do things that nobody else has done before. You're going to make history. You're going to be the best to ever do it. So when I say, what are you training for? Well, isn't it that? But what I see a lot of athletes do, and what I need you to think about if you're listening to this right now, is a lot of athletes want to speak like they're going to be that history maker, speak like they're going to be that game changer, speak like they're going to be that person who's doing the things that no one's ever done before. But when it comes to actually backing it up, they're not actually doing the work or not actually willing to put the time and the effort into the things that are going to allow them to achieve those goals. And the reason is because a lot of athletes, as much as they say, these are all my reasons to train, this is what I want to accomplish, this is where I want to go, et cetera, they're more interested subconsciously in showing everyone around them how hard they work than they are in actually working hard. Now, how do I know this? Why am I saying this? If you're feeling a little bit called out right now, why am I calling you out? Because this was me as an athlete. When I was competing in powerlifting, I was training every single day. I was lifting heavy every single day. I had 400 plus pounds on my back, 5 to 6 days a week minimum. Because in my head, I was training to be a world champion powerlifter, but I was going out drinking every weekend. I was eating shitty food. I wasn't getting very much sleep. I wasn't recovering and doing the things I needed in order to actually do that. Looking back on it later, my biggest interest was showing everyone else in the gym how fucking strong I was. My biggest interest was showing everyone else in the gym, I can outlift you. My biggest interest wasn't actually being successful at the sport that I was choosing to pursue. My biggest interest was showing everyone else how successful I was at the sport I was choosing to pursue. Do you understand the difference? You know, if you're listening to this right now and that resonated with you a little bit, it is a hard thing to come to terms with. Like, I want you to understand, if you're listening to this right now and it's making you a little anxious, I get you. If somebody had come to me when I was 21 years old pursuing powerlifting and said, you're training like a fucking idiot, and if you keep doing this, you're going to get hurt, and you're not actually doing what it takes to succeed in this sport, I wouldn't have been happy about it. But if that had happened and I had listened to that person, it would have been the best thing that I had ever done. Because succeeding in a sport is more than hard work. Hard work is a massive part of it, don't get me wrong, but succeeding in a sport is more than hard work. Succeeding in a sport takes hard work in your training. It takes intentionality in your training. Instead of me lifting as heavy as I could possibly lift 6 days a week, what I needed to, what I needed to start doing was balancing my training, structuring my training, making sure that I had my heavy days, but I also had my lighter days, but I also had my recovery days in order to optimize what I was doing, not just flex on everyone with how hard I was working. On top of actually balancing the training and learning how to, yes, continue to train hard, but also be smart about how I was training, the other thing this really required was ensuring that I was taking proper care of my body, ensuring that I was getting a good night's sleep, ensuring that I wasn't filling my body with poison every weekend, ensuring that I was doing the things outside of the sport that would allow me to continue to succeed inside of the sport. And on top of that, being able to approach the sport with a more intelligent mindset, being able to properly take care of my body, properly do all of the things outside of the sport that I needed to do, would allow me not only to continue to succeed inside the sport, but also would have allowed me to avoid what happened next, which was injury. So for anybody that hasn't heard about my powerlifting career before, I was very successful for a very short period of time. I set 8 Canadian records as a 19 and 20-year-old. And then by 22, I basically broke my entire body due to injury. And like I mentioned earlier in this podcast, training like an idiot. So the main point that I want to get back to there is that in my head, I was training to be a world champion. But looking back, I was too close-minded and I was not focused the right way on actually becoming a world champion. I was training to show everyone how successful I was. I was training to flex at how strong I was. I was training like someone who was not serious about their goals. And the reason I wasn't serious about my goals is because I wasn't actually clear on what they were. And so for all of you guys out there right now saying, I want to be a UFC champion, I want to be an ADCC champion, I want to be a Muay Thai world champion, whatever goal you have for the sport, I want to be a millionaire because of the sport I'm competing in. Whatever goal it is you have for the sport, understand that success is going to require more than hard work in the gym. But more so than that, what I see a lot of athletes do, and this is actually, coming back to the title of this podcast, what I see a lot of athletes do is they start with these huge goals and this massive amount of work ethic. They're training 2-3 times a day, continuing to train more and more and more and more. And then the motivation fades off. Excuse me for that. And then the motivation fades off. And then they start to miss the odd practice. They start to show up a little late. They start to slack a little bit on getting their recovery and getting their proper nutrition in, all those things that they know they need to do if they're going to succeed, they stop doing on a consistent basis because, hey, look how hard I'm working. I'm doing more than everyone. If I just miss one, it doesn't matter. And if you continue to operate with that mindset, what starts to happen is those other athletes start to come overtake you while you start to take more and more and more time away. So if you are starting to lose that motivation, if you are starting to lose that desire, the biggest thing I need to ask you, coming back to this question again, is what is it that you're training for? Why are you showing up to the gym at 4 o'clock in the morning? Why are you training 4 to 6 hours a day? Why are you putting in all this time? Because if you're sitting here right now and you're saying, UFC world champion, do you actually understand what comes with that? Do you actually understand the hours and hours and hours and hours of training and dedication and sacrifice and early mornings and late nights and saying no to social events and all of those pieces of the puzzle that allow you to achieve that goal? Because I know for myself, when I was focused on becoming a powerlifting world champion, I had no idea what that entailed. I had no idea how much actually went into that and how little I was doing in comparison to what I needed to be doing to achieve that. So like I said, I was training multiple hours every single day. I was busting my ass. I was doing all of those things that I see so many of you doing now. And looking back, I realized that I was doing a fraction of what I needed to be doing. And this doesn't mean I needed to be in the gym more. This doesn't mean that I needed to, lift heavier more often. This doesn't mean I needed to train more than I was training. This meant I needed to live the lifestyle of someone who was going to be a world champion and not the lifestyle of some dipshit that was trying to flex on everyone with how strong he was. So if you are listening to this and you are putting the time in and putting the work in and putting the effort in, let this be the moment that wakes you up to the fact that that is not enough. Putting the time in the gym is not enough. It's the fucking baseline. Putting the effort in your training is not enough to achieve that goal. It is the fucking baseline. If you are training multiple hours a day, good. That is to be expected. That doesn't separate you. That doesn't allow you to say, hey, look at me. I'm so much better than everyone else because I'm in the gym for 2 hours a day. So is everyone else that is going to have a chance of achieving those goals. So is everybody else. But the one who is going to separate is not the one who's just in the gym for a long time. It's the one who is always trying to improve what they're doing in the gym, always looking for the next step to level up their training. It's the one that is focused on recovering properly, focused on getting enough sleep, focused on eating the right foods, focused on learning and educating themselves about nutrition, about training, about recovery, to not just flex their work ethic, but actually develop the habits it takes to achieve professional status, to achieve world champion status. Because if you are not willing to do those things, you don't deserve to be at the top just because you work hard. You don't deserve to make the millions of dollars just because you work hard. You don't deserve all those accomplishments you have in your head just because you have work ethic. It takes all of these other things to give yourself a chance to actually achieve those kind of goals. So if you're lacking motivation right now, if you're in a position where you have goals for your career, but you're not really sure if you're on the right path, you're not really sure, you can't really motivate yourself to get up early to, get after it. I need you to actually figure out what it is you're working for. I need you to actually figure out if you want the shiny gold belt or if you want the lifestyle that has to come in order to achieve that shiny gold belt. I need you to ask yourself, outside of just the belt itself, outside of just that world championship status, what is it that you're looking for out of your life and out of your career? And are you willing to put in the time and the effort in order to make that happen? Because the world of professional sport is not an easy one. The world of elite performance in anything is not an easy one. And if you are not willing to put the time and the effort into it, you don't deserve the rewards that come out of it. So, the biggest thing I hope you take away from this, the biggest thing I hope you learn from this is that if you are not able to get yourself out of bed every morning to pursue the goals you have for your career, if you are not able to do that little bit of extra mobility work, make sure that you say no to, the ice cream and actually eat the good, healthy meal that you're supposed to be eating. If you're not able to do those little things on a day-to-day basis, you lack clarity. If you're not able to make those sacrifices, to make those commitments, to put in that time and that effort required to reach the highest level, you lack clarity in terms of what you actually want out of your career. So if you can take some time to actually figure out what it is you want, but not just what you want, but what it will actually take to get there, the lifestyle you need to live in order to actually achieve the goals you have for your career. If you can take some time to get clear on that, I guarantee waking up early in the morning isn't going to be difficult to do anymore. Going to bed late isn't going to be difficult to do anymore. Training that second, third, fourth hour isn't going to be difficult to do anymore. Eating the right food isn't going to be difficult to do anymore, because you want those high-level achievements. You want those high-level accomplishments, the fame and the fortune that come with it, and you understand that you are just starting in terms of actually getting there. You understand that you have so much more work to do to get there. You understand that you're not different because you work hard. You understand that working hard doesn't entitle you to anything. Continuing to do it year after year after year, on top of educating yourself, on top of improving your daily habits, on top of improving your lifestyle, is what's going to get you there. So that is it. That is all. I hope you got a little bit of something out of this. I hope you got some value. If you did, I would love to know what it was. Drop me a comment below. Let me know what you took away from the show today. If you have tuned into the show before, make sure that you leave a review for the show or send me a message on social media to let me know what it is you've taken away from the podcast. As well, if you are a fighter out there and you are looking to help take your career to the next level, there is a link in the show notes of the podcast where you can go fill out an application to work with me directly to help you do that. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure to go fill out that link, send me a message on Instagram, and let's get to work. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you all again soon.